Hello and welcome to the People Mentors interview series. And today I have the great delight of interviewing Ruth Watkins, who is a meditation teacher and a sleep therapist. And it's fascinating what she's got to say. And I think this is really important for us when we're in the workplace, because if we're not getting enough sleep, etc., then we don't perform to a high enough standard. And then we feel under pressure. And then this can all lead to burnout. But we're going to explore this and much more in this session today. So welcome, Ruth. Introduce
Thank
yourself, please.
you.
I'd love
Thank
to hear a
you.
bit more about you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ruth Watkins, and as Nicola says, I am a meditation teacher, a sleep therapist. I also practice Reiki. I do some holistic therapies, and I'm a further education teacher as well. So I have quite a number of feathers in my cap. But this is a fairly fledgling business for me. I started training as a sleep therapist during lockdown because I was becoming aware that I was reading a huge amount in the press about the amount of people that were suffering from sleep deprivation and what negative effect it had on people's lives. And as it was locked down, I thought, well, okay, this will be a great thing to do just because I'm interested in it, really.
Yeah.
So that's when I started my training as a sleep therapist. And it also fed into, in a way, my own story, which I think is quite relevant for me to tell a little bit about it, because it has a lot to do with stress and burnout and what can happen. So years ago, when I was in my late 20s, I was living in London and I was working for West End Theatres, which was a fabulous job, loved it to pieces, but I was working such long hours and I wasn't looking after myself properly. I was probably doing far too much socializing, not eating properly, and certainly not sleeping enough. And I got shingles, and it kept recurring.
Right.
And I didn't really get, my health didn't really get back to where it had been before. So I eventually was diagnosed with ME through having shingles on this recurrent basis. And I had to stop work. I wasn't bedbound, but I had to stop work. And I decided that I was going to really sort of concentrate for a period of time on my recovery. And it was during this time that I began to realise what paramount importance sleep is for everybody and how it would certainly impact on my recovery. So I sort of developed my own sleep regime and sort of stuck to it, and I ate healthily and I started to meditate as well on a daily basis. And together that with some proper rest and pacing and a few other sort of therapy sessions, I managed to get well again. So I started working again, and you're in your late 20s. So what do? You forget all the lessons you've learned.
And you go back out socialising.
And you go back out and you do exactly the same again. And I stopped meditating on a regular basis. I was meditating sort of every 3 or 4 days, but it wasn't enough. And on reflection, you know, that was a big mistake. And my ME, although it didn't stop me working at that time, I carried on working. It definitely had a negative effect on my performance and the way I worked. So I then became, sadly, a single mum at 40, because my partner sadly died when my little girl was young.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, sadly it's one of these things that happens in life, but I brought Fenella up on my own.
Right.
And again, sleep and meditation for me, being a single mum and having to work as well, was so important.
Oh, I can imagine.
It was very important. And then, I mean, this sounds like a sort of, sad story, but it's not, because there's good bits in between. But in 2016, I was picked up as having breast cancer through having just my normal mammogram. So girls, urge you, if you get that call to go and have your mammogram, go and do it. Because I was caught at a very early stage. And in the end, I did have radical surgery. So that's not so great, but hey ho. But I managed to get away with chemotherapy. I just had radiotherapy. And again, meditation and sleep became so important to my recovery. Within a very short time, I think it was sort of 6 weeks, when I had my first meeting with my surgeon again after I'd had surgery, he couldn't believe that I was as energetic and as okay as I was. And I certainly put that down an awful lot to, what I was doing and how I was trying to sort of self-heal by my meditation, my sleep hygiene, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And, I just realized at that point that sleep deprivation and stress for so many people, it's certainly reaching epidemic levels in this country at the moment.
It is.
And it's even worse since lockdown, sadly. And, I just began to think to myself, I think I know where my future career lies. I think I want to try and help people who are suffering from, sleep problems, stress, burnout. And then earlier on this year, I added to my qualifications my meditation teaching certificate. Excellent. So I only qualified in April, and I'm now starting doing classes locally. I haven't started doing things online yet, but I will be doing 2024. Watch out, because I shall be coming online and I shall be doing things there. So at the moment, I'm doing it locally. I'm starting some lessons next week. I'm starting a 6-week course. So that's why I'm where I am today. And I think because I'm a woman, I was working at the time all this was going on. And I thought to myself, it's women business owners that I feel that I can help.
Yeah.
Because so many female business owners are solopreneurs. They're sometimes single parents.
Yeah.
And they're trying to create a successful business, but they haven't yet got enough financial capital, perhaps, to bring in help, whether it be somebody like yourself, Nicola, or whether it be, just a cleaner. And they end up trying to run a business, trying to, if they've got children, look after childcare and also the home. And even if they're not a single parent, often these days, especially with our financial crisis going on at the moment, partners can work very, very long hours.
Exactly.
They can work away. So often, it does come down to the woman to be looking after, they're multitasking. And this can sort of definitely lead to, stress and burnout. And with the corporate side of things, I mean, I've not worked in a corporate situation, really. I mean, theatres that I work for, were part of big organisations, but it wasn't a corporate job, really. I think there is a tendency these days for employers to expect unrealistic goals.
Yeah,
And
it's understandable, I think,
yes,
but
yes,
with everything being so tight,
yes,
however, we are only human and we need to remember that. So I think that is a fair point to make.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think, for me as well, I realize that we're available these days because we're in a new, a digital
Oh,
age.
yeah.
We're available 24/7.
Yeah.
And some employers are expecting people to be, not just women, men too, they're expecting people to be available at unrealistic times.
I think they are, and I think it's something that as a leader you should be looking at yourself and showing
Definitely.
that you value your people and that you have boundaries. And if you demonstrate it, then that helps the
Yes.
others.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. And I think, if that doesn't happen, that's when employees will start suffering with stress.
And
Um,
burnout, like you
and
said.
then you've got an unproductive team
Absolutely.
workforce,
Yeah.
which doesn't then, help the business in any way. I mean, I know that there are businesses out there that are being extremely savvy now because they've realized
Mm.
that in order to get good productivity from their employees, that they need to have a great work-life balance strategy in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you must know much more
Yeah.
about this than I do, really.
Well, I think, don't you? Because when you think about what you're like when you're sleep deprived, your brain is got brain fog,
Yeah,
everything's so much slower,
yes,
your emotions are higher,
yeah,
which is going to cause probably more conflict in the workplace as
of
well.
course, yes,
Um, and generally, it can cause depression. I don't care what anybody says. I think
it
the first
can.
thing anybody should do is if they're not feeling their mood's not right, is they want to look at their sleep pattern. And I think that's where you would come in clearly.
Yes, yeah, definitely,
And I
definitely.
and you talk about meditation as well. And
Mm,
last year I came out of hospital, have had a major operation, and I was really struggling sleeping.
mm,
And I found that sorry, something's going on with this. I'll cut this out. I found that I needed to sleep but couldn't. I
yes,
was sleeping on the settee because I was in so much pain.
yes,
So I actually got some sleep music and I did some meditation. And that sleep music, when I was actually in hospital, was
yeah,
the only thing that sent me to sleep because the noise was too much. And I was just
yes,
so frightened as well. And
yeah,
people forget that sometimes people have fears going through in the dark of the night.
of course,
So
yeah,
somebody like you or somebody who can recommend ways of getting your sleep into a better state
yeah,
um, makes a huge difference. And I was told by the doctor to take some potent um, tablet,
oh,
one to get
yes,
rid of the pain and two to help me sleep. And I was just
yeah,
like, no, I'm not doing that. And when
yeah,
I read the side effects, it would have reacted with my other medication. It's like, you've not even looked at this.
yes, yes,
So that's why
yes,
I went to sleep
yeah,
music because I
yeah,
felt that brainwave bit.
absolutely, yes, yeah. And I think, doctors, I think doctors are a little more, GPs are a little more aware now
Mm.
the damage that certainly sleep tablets can
Mm.
cause, long-term taking of those, you get dependent on them. It's really not the way forward. There are, as you said, quite a few unpleasant side
Yeah,
effects. So yeah, if you can avoid them
yeah,
at any cost, then do it. That's
yeah,
definitely my advice. But
yeah.
there are, there are many things that you can do, Nicola, within, your own home environment that
Right.
are really quite sort of simple. Um, things that people should be aware of that they could do that would help their sleep. And although sometimes they seem so obvious, it's amazing how many people, just don't do it. And I'll just run through a couple because they're helpful, I think, for everybody.
Absolutely.
We sleep better at a cool temperature. So we sleep better at about 16 to 17 degrees in the bedroom. And I think when I talk to a lot of women, they say, oh, I love it. That's great. That temperature is great for me. And their husbands are saying, no, it's far too cold in this bedroom. But, scientifically proven that temperature 16 to 17 degrees is absolutely the right temperature to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's also within your sleep environment, within your bedroom. It's very important from a light aspect. So a dark bedroom is a great thing to do as far as sleep is concerned.
Yeah.
And I encourage a lot of my clients and friends to maybe buy red light night lights. So it means if you need to get up in the night for the loo, or you've got children and they need to go to the loo, you can put a red light night light in the landing or put one in your bedroom. It won't disturb your sleep, but what it will do is just give you that little bit of light to be able to not fall over something, the dog or whatever.
Crashing to the furniture.
Yeah, exactly. So that's quite a good tip. They're on Amazon. They're not expensive, but those little red lights are great. Getting your duvet and your mattress right are important. And I've recently discovered a company called Fine Bedding, and they do a set of duvets called Breathe duvets. And I've bought 2, and they are brilliant. And I'm hoping to do some work with the company and see if I can get some affiliation with them so that I can sell them as well. They're just brilliant duvets. So getting the right weight duvet at the right time of year is important. A duvet that will not be too heavy, that's lightweight, but gives you that warmth as well. A duvet that wicks away any moisture, especially if ladies are going through the menopause. That's absolutely necessary. So duvets hugely important. Mattresses, unfortunately, you do need to change them on a regular basis.
Yeah, now isn't that hard with a mattress? Because we bought one a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We've both got back problems. And so we got a fairly firm one, but we bought it from online, so we couldn't try it.
Yeah.
And it's actually too hard for us. And it's like out, you've given all that money to them and you can't get it. You gotta put up with it. And it's like, what do you do then?
Yeah. Well, again, the mattresses that I have here are called Uno, and they have a policy that if you don't like the mattress, it can go back.
Oh, well, that's useful to know.
There are some mattress manufacturers who will let you do that, even if you buy online.
Yeah.
But it is important to get the right mattress for comfort. And again, you can now buy the one I've got has got a cool layer on the top of it, which helps me maintain, because I get over hot at night.
Yeah, I do.
And that's turned out to be great. So those are really important. We were talking about light earlier on. Now, light is massively important as far as sleep is concerned. So point number 1, you need to get the right exposure to light at the right time of day. Getting out into morning light is a great thing to do, because what it does is it stops the production of our sleep hormone melatonin. And then in the evening, what you should be doing is, don't have the lights of the house on, not that we are at the moment because of the energy crisis.
Yeah.
But try and dim the lights, because a dimmer light will help stimulate your melatonin production, which you need to go to sleep. So when you need to be aware of during the day what light you're being exposed to, which brings me on to a more important type of light, and that's blue light. Blue light is emitted by all our devices. Blue light is emitted by bright lights that we have in some of our homes. Not all bulbs emit blue light, but the old-fashioned ones certainly do. But it's our devices that are a big problem for many people, because what they do, they take their phone into the bedroom, they take their laptop into the bedroom, they look at it late at night, and that stimulates, again, stopping our melatonin starting to kick in to make us sleepy enough to go to sleep. It's a huge problem with teenagers. So that's one of the first things that I will recommend to people when I'm talking about sleep hygiene is, do you keep your phone in your bedroom? What time is the last time that you look at it? It's great to not look at it beyond a certain time in the evening. So if you can, try not to look at, a laptop, your phone, probably after 8:30, if you can do that. I know that's not easy, and people go to me, oh God, I couldn't survive. But, it's important, because blue light will stimulate us and that melatonin production won't kick in.
Yeah. And do you not think that, like my husband and I were saying, you almost become addicted to that phone. So when you're a little bit,
without a doubt,
you pick it up and you look at it.
Yeah.
So he makes a habit of turning his phone off, as you say, about 8 o'clock, 8:30.
Yes.
And I'm not so good. And you're right, it does disturb your sleep, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't have it in the bedroom, I'll tell you. But we used to when we had elderly parents, because of being on standby.
Yes.
I would never look at it unless it came up with a message.
Yeah.
And that's the other problem, isn't it? If you leave your internet on, you get disturbed as well.
Yes. Yeah. And I think especially probably with business people, business women and men, they're tempted to keep their phone in their bedroom because they want to be available.
Yeah.
If the boss rings at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and let's face it, some do, then they want to be there. They want to keep their jobs, but from a sleep point of view,
I'd say if you are the boss and you are phoning at 8:30, 9, really look, is that giving the right approach out there, giving the right value to your team? Do you want them to burn out? Because that's where you're heading them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. It's also important, I think, again, people sort of forget how clever our brain is. Well, we know how clever our brain is, but one good thing to do is establish a great bedtime routine. Now, again, I know it's not always easy to do that, especially if you've got young children, but a constant and relaxing bedtime routine starts to create a pathway in our brain that makes our brain realize that we're heading towards that time of getting into bed and going to sleep. So, whether you have a bath, whether you do a short meditation, whether you do a bit of yoga, some sort of body stretches, put a lovely essential oil burner on, all these things, are creating that sort of constant bedtime routine that becomes familiar, and our brains will recognize that. So that's a really, really good tip. Another thing I think is, with families especially, try and keep sort of important conversations to early on in the evening rather than later on in the evening. And I think, again, we don't want to be too stimulated before we go to bed if we can help it. It's, our brain wants to be quiet, not buzzing all over the shop. So, try and do that.
Yeah, that takes me to the thing about, you talk about improving emotional health through sleep.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on the link between emotional health and the quality of sleep?
Yeah, right. Okay. So in our brain, we have a small part of the brain, or a small, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Lost my words.
I often do that.
Yeah, exactly. We have something called the amygdala.
Yeah.
And this is the small part of the brain that processes all our emotions. And what it does is it processes them at a certain time during our sleep cycles.
Right.
Now, we sleep in 90-minute sleep cycles. At the end of the 90 minutes, we have a period of REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep. That's usually when we dream. That's when we're more easily awoken. But that is the time when our emotions are being processed by this particular part of our brain. Now, if that doesn't happen, and you're having disturbed sleep, and you aren't getting those cycles with the REM sleep at the end, your emotions are not being processed properly. So you're much more likely then to be much more emotionally volatile the next day than you would be if you'd had good quality sleep.
Yeah, I got to agree, because I often burst into tears when I'm like that.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I was younger and had young children, being much more prone to tears than I am now.
Yes.
And which is why I say about in the workplace, people shouldn't get hung up about people who cry, because there's all sorts of reasons we cry, and it is all to do with our emotions, and we need to learn how to support those people.
Yes, definitely. I mean, one of the things that I have done since I've trained is, I've only done it twice, and I've done it for fairly small companies with one had 6 employees, one had 12 employees, is I went in and gave a talk. And it was amazing, really, how the employer was not really aware of some of these things, and there were some real light bulb moments for them. And then they thought, right, okay, I think I need to put some strategies in place that, either to just be more aware of certain things, as you said, or, create a better work-life balance for their employees. And that goes with, one of the questions you asked me when we talked about doing this interview was about productivity.
Yeah.
And, sleep deprivation definitely affects productivity. There is no doubt about it. It's, it negatively affects working relationships. It makes the employee perhaps not concentrate fully. They don't learn as well. They don't communicate as well. There is a possibility of, that your memory isn't working quite as well either. And certainly your problem solving skills will decline as well. So it's a whole bunch of stuff.
Isn't it? Because it's like wading in treacle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like everything's harder. Yeah.
Yes.
So if people are interested in your services, how do they get in touch with you, Ruth? And where can they go to find out more about you?
Right. Okay. Well, because I'm, as I said earlier, a fairly fledgling business, I am on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm on LinkedIn. I think I know my LinkedIn is Ruth Watkins 29.
Right.
But it is Sleep Success.
Okay.
And also through my email. I am going to ask for your help later on this year and beginning of next year to set some of my other platforms up properly, because now I've changed to what I'm doing. I need to do that to become much more visible and much more available to people. But my email is very easy. It's ruth@sleepsuccess.co.uk.
Okay.
And so anybody can, write an email asking a question. If they want to know about some of the services or talks that I'm able to do, then, please just get in touch.
Yeah, I think very much so, because I think this fits with well-being of your employees, and as an employer, you have a duty of care anyway.
You do.
But you should want to do it anyway. If you care about your team, if you're a leader who practices compassion and empathy, then clearly bringing somebody in to give hints and tips and talks and incorporating that as part of the wellbeing program sounds to me like an absolute ace. And for anybody who's a business owner on their own, who is struggling, look at your sleep patterns, look at how you calm yourself during the day, because none of us want high blood pressure, none of us want our pulses racing. So your support could make all that difference. So,
I'm also hoping that I can start to go into workplaces and do some meditation sessions.
Yeah, brilliant.
Whether that be first thing in the morning, or whether that be just for a short period at lunchtime. So I think that certainly would be advantageous for a lot of businesses. Some do it, in fairness.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good idea. And I have shared this before, but about the session where we had a yoga teacher do meditation at the beginning of our team meeting, and it sets the tone and keeps it calm.
Yes.
And so I think it'd be great for workshops. If you're having an all-day workshop, why not get you in to set the tone for the day? Yes. And I've seen it, and it does work. It makes a difference.
Yes.
So they've got your links.
Yes.
And I'm sure I'm going to have you back again to talk about a bit more about meditation for us, I think, on another episode.
Okay.
I think let's leave it there. They've got your link.
Okay.
And I really appreciate your time today. So,
thank you so much, Nicola. It's been a joy talking to you. Thank you for having me.
All right. And we'll be back next week again. All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.